seated. Well, good morning and welcome, men. Ooh, we have a mic that's chipping in and out here, but we shall make do. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this opening. Do I have another mic? Do you have another mic that we can exchange this one for? We're good with this one? All right. Welcome to this wonderful occasion. It is the official opening and one-year celebration of the MJS Industrial and Technology Park. Let's have a round of applause just for being here, just for the occasion, because today marks a milestone in history. First, let me acknowledge some of our guests. Of course, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Andrew Holness. We also have with us Senator the Honorable Auburn Hill. I acknowledge Anthony Hilton, Opposition Spokesman on Trade and Logistics. His Worship the Mayor Council Norman Scott will be delivering video remarks today. We have with us members of the board of the Musson Group. We also have executives and representatives of the MJS Industrial and Technology Park tenantry. These include OddPen, InTouch CX, Sagility, see the sign right behind us, the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Honeybun, Transparent BPO, Phoenix Towers. Also, let me acknowledge the members of the media here and our special invited guests. Like I said, this is a very historic event, and it is no coincidence that we are seated here today in Spanish Town. And let me tell you a funny story. Last week, I was telling a friend of mine that I was hosting this event, and he asked me, what's the event? I said, well, it's the opening of a huge technology park, an industrial park in Spanish Town. And he said, Spanish Town? I said, yeah, Spanish Town. He's like, a tech park in Spanish Town? I said, yeah. He said, you sure it's in Spanish Town? And so much was his doubt that I had to go and check the email and just make sure that it really was in Spanish Town. So I brought up the email and it said, Angel Spanish Town, right beside GC Foster College. And he said, okay. And then a couple days later, I saw a video on TikTok with somebody doing a tour of the facilities and showing it, and I sent it to him. And I said, yeah, see, it's in Spanish Town. The person was right at the train tracks. And he said, a data guana Spanish Town? Okay, it's a good look. And I said, yeah, it really is a good look. It's a good look, isn't it? It really is wonderful to have this type of development here. 2,300 jobs created and counting. I'm told that there are commitments for up to 5,000, but I'm going to leave more information for the speakers because I know we have a long list of speakers today and they have a lot to say about what is happening here and what you are being introduced to. We're actually going to start with a video presentation, so I'll ask you to turn your attention to the monitors, to the screens. This video is called From Vision to Reality, the transformation of the former Ariguanabo mill site into Jamaica's largest technology park.
For decades, the Ariguanabo textile mill stood here, once the beating heart of Spanish Town's economy. A place for jobs, pride, and purpose. Then, silence. But potential never truly disappears. It waits for vision. That vision came from businessman Michael Sobrati, who saw more than an abandoned factory. He saw a chance to rewrite the story, not just for this property, but for the people. Today, the MJS Industrial and Technology Park stands as a powerful symbol of what's possible. A 440,000 square foot campus, 7 major tenants, and over 3,500 jobs created right here in Spanish Town. Here, growth feels different, rooted in community, built to last. MJS is Jamaica's only fully sustainable industrial facility, attracting international tenants like Sagility, InTouch CX, and Transparent BPO. alongside local titans like Honeybun, Oddpem, and the Jamaica Fire Brigade. It's more than development, it's community transformation. From job fairs to classroom rentals at GC Foster College, from solar power and battery storage to well water systems and green space expansion, every detail has been shaped with people and planet in mind. From a proud past to a progressive present, from vision to execution, from dormant to dynamic. This is the MJS Industrial and Technology Park, a $50 million investment, a national achievement, a new chapter made in Jamaica for Jamaica. We welcome you with pride.
Let me tell you, it truly is remarkable. It took some vision. Congratulations, Michael and the entire team, for bringing this vision to reality. Let me start by shouting out some of the tenants, the first 7 tenants. Anybody here from Oddpem? Where's Oddpem? Oddpem, make some noise. All right. In Touch CX, where are you? In Touch is in the house. Sagility, where's Sagility? Representing. One person raised his hand. The Jamaica Fire Brigade, I saw them. Yes, they're in the house. Honeybun. Honeybun is in the back. Transparent BPO, right in the front. Phoenix Towers. Woo! We make some noise on behalf of Phoenix Towers. We're going to continue with our video presentations for the moment. Our next is remarks from His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Norman Scott.
First, I must welcome the MJS personnel and what they have done to Spanish Town is in recent time we have said that Spanish Town is on its rebirth, and MJS has shown the significance of this rebirth, wherein over 3,500 persons have gained employment since the development, which opened over a year ago. I think we're about to celebrate its first anniversary. And what this has done, persons working in Kingston now have to leave their house to get to work in a very normal time. They have to leave their house 2-3 hours before regular working hours. And so what this has done is to create a kind of synergy where you have 3,500 persons concentrate in Spanish Town, taking away traffic that would normally go to Kingston. You see young people, they get their degrees and they are now looking to overseas. If we can find the companies that will cater to them, it would have meant so much. And let me say this, the St. Catherine Municipal Corporation, from the get-go, started to work with the MJS people. As you all know, it's an old factory that has been abandoned for many years. And so it had meant that technical architectural work to be put in place. And from the get-go, I commissioned a team led by our senior engineer, and they got together with the personnel from MJS, and every aspect of the development in terms of the getting to where it is today, they went through it. And so when it came for approval, it was a smooth process to getting everything approved. There was no glitches, no itches, because of the way we took on this project as a major investment. I knew that this would have been a serious game changer for Spanish Town. And so from the get-go, I must say that the Member of Parliament for that community was also integral involved, and the councillors. And so we want to celebrate with MJS the victory that they have had and the success where they are today.
Thank you very much to the Mayor, His Worship Councillor Norman Scott. Next, let me introduce to you the Member of Parliament for St. Catherine North Central. She is in the house, looking fabulous in blue, the Honorable Natalie Nita Garvey, delivering her remarks.
Spanish Town has been blessed with this new idea, this new visionary idea, because now in Spanish Town, there is an opportunity for economic development that we did not have before. A lot of people running away from Spanish Town. Thank you for choosing Spanish Town, because you have chosen a community where between Yuatan and Spanish Town we have
Most Honorable Prime Minister, they love to see me so much I had to do it twice, you know. Your Worship the Mayor, Norman Scott, Minister Orban Hill, Member of Parliament Anthony Hilton, Head of the Mussins Group, and my friend Michael. You're now my new best friend. To all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen present here, the team from the GC Foster College who are also present and a part of this partnership, good morning. I am expressing my sincere gratitude to the team at Mussins for your incredible vision, because when you would have come to this place without vision, you could not see what I'm seeing here today. And so when Michael called to express that this was what he dreamt of, I didn't discourage him. I encouraged him because I so badly wanted this for Spanish Town. But I had my doubts and I had my fears, given what we have gone through in Spanish Town. But your vision has led to the economic uplift of this community. Your vision has created opportunities and incredible possibilities. Because now when we train our young people, we train them knowing that there is a possibility to get a job and that there is greater incentive through the hard work so that you can qualify to get the job. We want to just express to you our need for this continued partnership. Just to let you know, I'm a beggy MP, and I will continue to beg on behalf of the community. But that we worked hard together to ensure that some of those little things that would have reared its head during construction, because of leadership and commitment, it didn't happen here. So we had an incident-free construction period because we worked well with the community. I know Musson is a responsible corporate group, and you will continue to make sure that the environment is secure and that the relationship with the community continues to thrive from strength to strength. Congratulations. I am elated. Looking forward to our continued partnership as you continue to grow. Bless you.
Thank you very much, MP. So now let me introduce you to the man with the plan. He's a man who is redefining what it means to build, not for now, but for the future. That's Mr. Michael Sobrati, the executive chairman of the newly built MJS Industrial and Technology Park. This is Jamaica's only special economic zone in Spanish Town. It is home to over, it says 2,800 here. They said 38 on the video. Enough employees, let's just put it at that, and counting. But this isn't just a development, it is actually a movement now bursting with opportunity in a community that has once been heavily overlooked. So Michael actually wears many hats. He's a director of the Musson Group of Companies, where he leads property development and oversees Musson's manufacturing and trading powerhouses, including T. Geddes Grant. He also serves as a director of the Seprod Group of Companies, which, as you know, is a cornerstone of Jamaican industry. And he's also done many other things. He's contributed his time and expertise to numerous government boards as well as civil society. He's a man of vision, substance, and unstoppable drive. Please join me in recognizing Mr. Michael Sobrati.
Good morning, everyone. Prime Minister, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Dr. the Honorable Horace Chang, Honorable Fable Williams, Senator the Honorable Aubin Hill, Honorable Carl Samuda, His Worship the Mayor Councillor Norman Scott, Member of Parliament Natalie Neto, all other ministers and government officials, board members of the Musson Group and MJS Industrial and Technology Park, executives and representatives of the Musson Tenantry, ODPEM, InTouch CX, Sigility, Jamaica Fire Brigade, Honeybomb, Transparent BPO, Phoenix Towers, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the official opening of the MJS Industrial and Technology Park. Thank you for being here today to celebrate this incredible milestone with us. This journey began 3 years ago when my father, Stafford Sobrati, brought me to this very spot. Back then, just overgrown ruins. But to him, it was a place of memory. He had watched his own father, my grandfather, George Ryman Sobrati, deliver building materials to construct the original Araguanabo textile mill in the 1950s. As a boy, Dad saw firsthand the grit and effort that went into building something meaningful. My family lived just a mile down the road on Brunswick Drive. Dad still remembers his mother, Adina, waking up early to help his older brother, Ralph, make breakfast so he could get to the textile mill on time for his very first job. Back then, the mill wasn't just a workplace. It was the heartbeat of the entire community. Everyone depended on it, and it was a source of pride and belonging for countless families. It shaped identity and built dreams for generations. Today, my father gets to see me carry that legacy forward, transforming this historic site into something new. A different version, yes, but with the same spirit of purpose and pride. The Araguanabo textile mill was once a beacon of Jamaican industry, employing hundreds and lifting an entire community. When it closed in the 1970s, that closure sent shockwaves. The area suffered, the infrastructure decayed, and for decades, it stood still until now. As a trained structural engineer, I came back here with boots on, wading through bush and rubble, and what I found astonished me. The bones of the structure were still strong. The foundation, rock solid. Some of the original walls were still perfectly intact. That gave us hope, and it sparked a vision. We focused on sustainability, on economic growth, on social equity, on environmental stewardship. We believed in building something that could stand the test of time, something future generations would be proud of. Kingston is overcrowded. People commute from Spanish Town, Portmore, Old Harbor, all just to get to work. But why? Why not build where the people already are? This location, close to the North-South Highway, near GC Foster College, and nestled in a rich community, was a perfect fit. And so, we got to work. Our team was nothing short of extraordinary, starting with design leader architect Darren Latchman, brilliant structural engineer Peter Jarvis, our rock-solid contractors, Sonny and Alfred Guile, who is homegrown to Spanish Town. Our meticulous QS, Veronica Royal, esteemed valuator, Gordon Langford, the formidable legal mind, Jennifer Scott, the best financial controllers you can find, Dr. Sharon McDonald, Gafton Rodney, and Perry Wright. Our lady who had us doing everything according to all the rules and regulations of the Special Economic Zone Authority, Pansita Murray. And the man who stood shoulder to shoulder with me every step of the way, the relentless Roger Drinkall. Roger, you were simply exceptional. There's a saying, you're only as strong as your team. Well, believe me when I say I have the best. No question. We began reimagining what this place could be. We brainstormed industries, manufacturing, of course, but also BPO, an emerging force in Jamaica. And slowly, this vision took shape. We reached out to JAMPRO, the Special Economic Zone Authority, Minister Hill, and the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce. And of course, PB Scott. He's not just my brother-in-law, but also one of my best friends, and truly a business visionary. Honestly, if I started to listing all his accomplishments across the region, we'd need snacks and a sleeping bag. We'd be here until next week. But let me tell you, when I first pitched him this wild idea, he looked at me like I'd completely lost the plot. He goes, "No one's going to invest there. The stigma's way too big." And I just looked him dead in the eye and said, "Well then, I will." And just like that, we were off to the races. No turning back. That's how much I believed in this vision. I was all in. And once PB saw that passion, Musson jumped on board and the momentum took off. JAMPRO connected us with investors. The first, Transparent BPO, led by Scott Newman along with Lance Hale, who is with us today. Despite what he'd heard about Spanish Town, he visited. He climbed through the ruins just like we did, like Minister Hill did, and saw the potential. Scott Newman said yes, and with that, we were off. Today, Transparent BPO is here. Sagility is here and making waves. Today, we're fortunate to have Anand Biradar in the house, representing Sagility's dynamic leadership team. Anand isn't just an ordinary leader. He's a two-term president of the Global Services Association of Jamaica and a true champion of the sector. Sagility stands out as a bold foreign direct investor that saw what many didn't, the untapped potential of Spanish Town. They didn't just invest, they integrated, uplifted, and became part of the fabric of the community. And they're not alone. In Touch, led by Ambrosio Ringer, is another exciting example that's about to go live. proof that the momentum is real and the vision is growing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is now the largest BPO operation under one roof in the entire Caribbean. And they're not just call centers. They're doing AI-driven work for top US companies, health insurance, travel operations, even Airbnb. Then came the Jamaica Fire Brigade, followed by ODPEM. And finally, there's Honeybun, led by the unstoppable Herbie Chung, a true Jamaican success story. Herbie and his team aren't just baking sweet treats, they're cooking up progress. Right now, they're building their most advanced manufacturing facility right here in the heart of it all. This isn't just expansion, it's a statement, a bold vote of confidence in the future of Spanish Town. Trust me, go buy their stock. You'll be investing in more than just a company, you'll be investing in a vision that's rising fast. None of this would be possible without strong partners. Sagicor believed in us. Thank you to Lenworth Tracy, Michael Willisey, and Chris Sacco. First Citizens of Trinidad, thank you, Sasha Sain, for tripling down on your support. Because of you, Phase 2, an additional 300,000 square foot for manufacturing is about to break ground. We are building our own solar farm. 450 trees. We have a deep well on site. And soon, we'll have a railway station for industrial and even passenger support. We've created 2,800 jobs, on track to 5,000. That's what today is about. Real results, a real future. To Prime Minister Holness, thank you for your encouragement. When we met 2 years ago at the Global Alliance of Special Economic Zones conference in Montego Bay, we were just an idea. But you listened, and we shared a bond. Our families both from Spanish Town. That moment meant everything. To Mayor Norman Scott, Natalie Nito, Vishu Tolan, thank you. Minister Aubin Hill, your leadership has been critical. I'd like to make special mention of Mr. David Mays, former chairman of GC Foster. I literally cold called GC Foster College to ask about this long forgotten property. And thank goodness the phone was answered by none other than the amazing Miss Mitzi Johnson, who just so happens to be here with us today. Mitzi passed along my message to Mr. Mays, and the rest is history. From that day on, Mr. Mays believed in the vision and never looked back. He saw it through with unwavering support. You've been a true champion. I am grateful. To my amazing family, my mom Janet, my dad Stafford, yes, another big shout out, and my incredible daughters, Christina, Anna, and Lisa. You're my greatest source of pride and the reason I stay so driven. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't do any of this without you. And most of all, to the incredible community of Angels Spanish Town. Thank you for believing in us. That includes Petson and Scratchy. Just weeks before this event, we launched a social media blitz to shine a spotlight on what we've built at MJS. Because today, that's how the word spreads. And wow, did it catch fire? The comments poured in, and they were exactly why we waited until we were 100% tenanted with a world-class turnkey product to show. Because for too long, Spanish Town carried a label, a reputation clouded by crime and extortion. People didn't believe something like this could rise here. But the reaction? Almost disbelief. Shock. Awe. Pride. It just goes to show when you bet on your people, when you invest in them, team, with all my heart, thank you. Let's continue building the future together.
Thank you, Michael. I see you brought your supporting squad. Who's ringing the bell? It's not time yet, right, Prime Minister? I think somebody wants you to call it. But we do appreciate hearing some of the history and the vision behind MJS Industrial and Technology Park. You know, my same friend who was doubting that this park was in Spanish Town, he said, so what exactly is a tech park? What's a technology park? So there's BPOs? I said, well, we're about to find out, and I'm glad that you told us that there is AI-driven work being done here. There's loads of technology being used in the services that are being provided to Jamaicans and the world right here from Spanish Town. And on that note, let me introduce one of the tenants, one of the many tenants, one of the 7 original tenants. Just before I do that as well, I remember a couple months ago I was interviewing Michelle Chung from Honeybun, and she was telling me about their expanded capacity in Spanish Town, and when that comes on stream, they're going to be able to do this and increase revenue, and she was so excited about it. And now it just brings me so much joy to come here today and see the factory is there, the name Honeybun is emblazoned. Invest if you want to. This is not investment advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. Please consult your licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions. But let me introduce one of the other tenants here. His name is Lance Hale, representing the tenants. You may have seen the big sign outside when you're driving in, Transparent BPO. Lance Hale is the president of Transparent BPO. He oversees all Transparent BPO operations. He's growth-oriented. He's a visionary BPO business leader with an extensive resume spanning 3 decades in the contact center industry. And during that time, he rose from the ranks. So he actually started as a customer service manager early in his career, and then became the president of operations for one of the largest BPO firms, not just in Jamaica, but in the entire world. Let's welcome Lance Hale, the president of Transparent BPO.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk about something that fills us with immense pride, the opening of the MJS Tech Park here in Spanish Town. When we at Transparent BPO first began exploring global expansion opportunities, our search naturally led us to Jamaica, which has long been an established contact center outsourcing hub. We began our search in Kingston, and while we saw many vibrant facilities there, we saw the city already hosted over 30 BPOs. We were acutely aware of the daily commute that many talented individuals faced, having to travel long distances into Kingston from communities like Spanish Town and Portmore. We knew that for us to attract and retain the best talent, we needed a different approach from the other BPOs. It was during this exploration that our partners introduced us to an intriguing proposition, the old Cuban textile mill next to G.C. Foster College in Spanish Town. I remember that visit very well. We weren't looking at polished brochures or walking through built-out, ready-to-go spaces like in Kingston. We were climbing ladders onto the roof, surveying the landscape, seeing trees and roots growing inside of and on top of the structure. It was raw, it was challenging, but through that initial impression, we saw something truly powerful. We saw the vision that our partners at MJS had done for transforming this space, and we felt a strong conviction that it could be done. More importantly, we immediately recognized the incredible potential of this location for the very community where many of our future employees lived. We truly felt that this would be a win-win, beneficial for us as a company, and begin to transform a community that has historically seen few business opportunities. The strategic centrality of MJS Tech Park is undeniable. Its proximity to major highways provides excellent connectivity, ensuring ease of access for our growing workforce. Being situated where we are means we can draw from a large and eager talent pool within and around Spanish Town, significantly reducing commute times for our employees. This accessibility isn't just a logistical advantage, it's a quality of life improvement for our team members, fostering a more sustainable and engaging workforce. One of the aspects that truly resonated with us was something we deeply appreciated about this development. MJS's Tech Park's strong commitment to sustainability. This isn't just a buzzword, it's ingrained in the park's design and operation, as you can see. The upcoming incorporation of solar energy, for instance, significantly reduces our carbon footprint and aligns with our global environment responsibilities. The presence of a deep water well ensures a reliable and sustainable water source, a critical resource in any major development. We also have the unique advantage of being located adjacent to GC Foster College. This proximity creates a powerful synergy between co-job creation, educational infrastructure, and even athletic potential. The college is a renowned institution that cultivates disciplined, dedicated, and skilled individuals. Having direct access to this talent pool allows us to foster a continuous pipeline of highly capable team members, many of whom are eager to apply their education and drive with a professional setting close to home. We believe in nurturing local talent, and this partnership with GC Foster College is a testament to that commitment. It's about creating opportunities right at the source of the emerging talent. From a foreign direct investor's perspective, operating within an SEZ truly provides a competitive framework for growth and success. The Jamaican government has been incredibly forward-thinking in establishing these economic zones, and the benefits for businesses like ours substantial, and they're substantial. For example, the significant reduction in corporate income tax directly impacts our operational efficiency and allows greater reinvestment into the community and our teams and here in the infrastructure. The streamlined administrative processes, coupled with the overall stable and predictable regulatory environment, provide the confidence and flexibility we need to make long-term impactful investments. These incentives create an ecosystem designed to accelerate business growth and attract high-quality international investment. So why Jamaica? Beyond all these specific advantages, our decision to invest here boils down to a fundamental alignment with our strategic goals and a deep-seated appreciation for what this country offers. Firstly, the attractiveness to our global clients of Jamaica as an English-speaking nearshore destination is paramount. Clear communication and cultural affinity are critical in our business. Secondly, and equally important, is the unparalleled expertise and established infrastructure in the BPO space that Jamaica possesses. I've personally been working in Jamaica since the early 2000s, and I've witnessed firsthand the depth of talent and dedication here. In the end, it was an irresistible combination: a highly experienced workforce, a strong English-speaking environment, and a competitive cost structure. This advantage makes Jamaica incredibly attractive to our clients, ensuring we can deliver exceptional service to our clients. Our partnership with MJS Tech Park developers was the key to making this happen. Their vision and commitment to sustainability and community perfectly complement our own, laying the groundwork for a truly beneficial and long-lasting relationship. We're incredibly excited about what we've been able to build together so far and eager to see how we will unfold the future. We look forward to many more years of shared success and growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lance, and thank you for your commitment to Jamaica, helping us to create jobs here and develop our community and our people. Now, our next speaker is somebody who needs no introduction. Maybe we should introduce him by song. I grew up in a place called... and some city, Spanish Town rocking. He's a native of Spanish Town. Grew up around these parts, not far from here, right? Not far from here at all. Spanish Town, Jamaica's very first seat of government. And then grew up to become the leader of Jamaica's government. Let's welcome our very own Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness to deliver our keynote address.
Thank you very much, Kalila, for your usual masterful master of the ceremony. Allow me to stand on the protocols established. You're all important, nice, and decent people. I have a prepared text, but as I sat reflecting on my own journey along the train line from St. John's Road, going to visit friends in Linstead, taking the train after school, and I would pass by here. You know, I've always wondered why this factory was abandoned. And I also reflected on the Goodyear factory in St. Thomas, which suffered a similar fate. The rice mill in Spanish Town as well. And you could go right through the island and see Jamaica's industrial ambitions laying idle in waste. In about 1949, 1947, the government of Jamaica passed legislation to support the development of pioneer industries. And that relied heavily on incentives. The policy direction of government then was largely protectionist as well. And several pieces of legislation would have been passed to protect, for example, the textile market. As a result of that, this facility was developed, the Aragonabo Textile Factory, in collaboration with, I believe it's a Cuban textile entrepreneur, in partnership with the government of Jamaica. It was a huge development, and it became the engine of the economy of Spanish Town, along with the steel mill. I've mentioned the rice mill and the salt factory and all kinds of other industrial endeavors in and around Spanish Town. And then it just collapsed. And there are many reasons why it would have become dormant. Firstly, the changing global context, competitiveness, but of course, local economic policies. The interest in the factory was eventually acquired by a Colombian company, and they operated it for several years. And then they decided that they would divest themselves of the interest, and the government of Jamaica had to take it over fully to prevent it from going under. The government of Jamaica made quite a bit of investment in it, trying to keep the jobs. But it was literally an impossible task. By then, the Asian economies were producing textile far more efficiently than we could. But also by then, the political challenges in Jamaica, which spawned economic challenges as well in the 70s, would have made these kinds of endeavors unprofitable. And so there was an inevitable fate for many of these factories. They closed. People were put out of work. Their dreams and aspirations of Jamaica being an industrial, manufacturing, fast-developing economy, those were destroyed. We struggled through in the 90s and in the early 2000s, trying to find our economic footing. And indeed, a part of the lands of the Aragonaba factory was sold off into housing, Angels Estates and so forth. 15 acres remained in the government's portfolio. Pretty much like the St. Thomas Goodyear factory, where suffered similar fate. Factory just could not compete. The economic and social conditions just were not conducive to manufacturing or really any form of economic activity. Even as our economy was going through a transition, becoming a mainly service-based economy. So fast forward from me on that train to me driving past the Goodyear factory, now deciding to take on leadership of the country and having to figure out what are we going to do to restore an economy. And we decided that these are, even though they are in a dormant state, they are still significant assets, as Michael Subrati would have discovered, coming and looking at the steel frame buildings, examining the concrete to see that it was still intact, and that all that was needed was the spark of an entrepreneur to see what is possible. And in the same way, I looked at the Goodyear factory and looked at St. Thomas and saw what was possible. So we took a decision as a government that our economy cannot develop on one plank. We've done well in the services, tourism, and BPOs, but logistics is another plank, and whenever I speak about logistics, I must acknowledge Tony, because he was a strong advocate for logistics. But we must get back into manufacturing. Jamaica must resuscitate its manufacturing base. And so we decided that we're going to look at all the assets that the government has, and either we seek to develop it or we're going to make it available to entrepreneurs to develop. And so when we were approached to have this land divested, we were very supportive of it. Granted, there were some who thought, you know, it would not have been possible, given, as was said, the incredible negative perceptions that reigned on Spanish Town. But the entrepreneurial vision was successful, and I want to, at this point, commend Michael Subrati and P.B. Scott and the Mussins Group for having the vision, but more so for having the courage to put their resources behind this $50 million development, which is significant. In the same way that the government had the vision and the courage to develop the Morant Bay Urban Center. Now, I want to just put all of this development in context. None of these things could happen without the entrepreneurs seeing that there was a stable economic environment. That is an absolute important parameter for any of these dreams and wishes to materialize. So even before we decided to develop the Morant Bay Urban Center, as a government, we had to make sure that our debt situation was stable. And just to remind you, just in case it has escaped this wonderful audience, in 2016 we were at about 130% debt to GDP. Today we are at 68% and heading down. That means that government is less likely to become a burden on its citizens and business. Yes. So in other words, a businessman looking on at a factory that has been abandoned for decades say, you know, I see the vision for this. And then they will draw up the architectural and the engineering plans. But when they go to do the business plan and they have to look at cash flows, then a part of aligning that cash flow would be taxes. And then they have to test it to see, what if the government increased taxes in year 2, arbitrarily? What would be my obligation and how would that impact on my bottom line? And then the decision may be, you know, well, from an architectural and structural point of view, this would be good. The markets are there, you know, agility and transparent, they would come. But would it be profitable? Would it end up back to square one where I can't pay the workers, I can't meet my debt, and then I would have to shut down the business? So you know what? This project doesn't work. The project works when the businessman looking on and say, I've had 7 years of this government so far, and guess what? No new taxes. You have had 10 budgets. So all the business people who are looking at projects, let's get them off the planning sheets and into reality. Of course, incentives are critical. And incentives, in a sense, I'm going to be very careful how I say it, but you will understand when I say what I say. You know, incentives compensate for losses for projects that wouldn't make it in the first place. So there is a view about how we should develop, which is we should give incentives. And we have struggled with that because incentives can lead to fiscal challenges. You could end up in a race to the bottom. But there are ways to support development. There are ways to encourage industries without necessarily having to give fiscal incentives. Now, let me just quickly say that between administrations, the previous administration and our administration before that, there was the understanding and agreement as to how we come out of debt and remain out of debt, and that is we need an omnibus legislation to cover incentives. So we give a set of incentives, they are transparent, you know how to access them, there's no more. And that is rolled up both in the omnibus legislation and in the special economic zone legislation under the special economic zone authority. So there are incentives. But there are always people who will be saying, give more incentives and I'll fix up this factory. Give more incentives and I'll do that. Well, what are the other incentives that business people would want? First of all, business people would want a well-trained labor force. If government absorbs the cost of training the labor force, that is a significant incentive for business. So training has an externality. In other words, the government spending on training gives a private benefit to the person trained, but it also gives an external benefit to the rest of the society, including the business. If you notice, the representative from Transparency pointed out the labor force. The training of labor and your labor force is one of the biggest assets that any economy can present to investors. And therefore, the Heart Trust NSTA is a critical partner in driving training. So this project would not necessarily be as attractive without the government's deliberate and instrumental investment in training of the labor force. There are other incentives, and there are other ways in which government supports these kinds of developments. And one of them, which is going to become increasingly tangible to the average citizen, is peace and security. Now, if you were to consider, why is it that no one else before now actually saw the vision for this old textile mill? It was because the perception was created that this area was not safe. And the cost that it would take from the private individual to make this place safe would make the business unprofitable. Do you see the weight that crime and violence places on our economic development? Do you see how it suppresses us? And do you see why we cannot be ambivalent in once and for all dealing with the gangs that are in the business of violence? They are not our friends. They mean us no good. We cannot be ambivalent about it. And they have held down Spanish Town for decades. I say to you today, if we achieve peace in Spanish Town, there would be a rushing sound of investors into this place. Why? Because you have a population that is largely well trained. You already have basic infrastructure in place. And you have some of the most creative people in and around this area. So the government strategy, which runs parallel to our economic strategy, is our strategy for peace. The less than 1,000 criminals who make Jamaica be perceived as unsafe can be easily addressed. And they have been largely addressed. And we will not relent in ensuring that those less than 1,000 people prevent the 3 million people who either are Jamaicans or people working and living here achieve their dreams and aspirations for self-fulfillment. I cannot be clearer about our strategy. Jamaica will attain peace as we have had peace in our country up to the 1960s, when our murder rate was the equivalent of that of the United States, less than 3 per 100,000. We will get back to that, and we will get back to that within this decade. Unless there are those who cringe at the idea of being deliberate and instrumental and direct and targeted at criminals. The same criminals who are involved in scamming and extortion and being the footmen of gangs, the same criminals can be rehabilitated and they can come to work right here. They can come to work in the call centers. They can become the data scientists. They can become the people who are manning all the machinery and the equipment in the bakery. Why not? Why not? The truth is, we need their labor. We need them. And therefore, our policy is clear. And I'm now speaking to our young men and women of Spanish Town. Heart trust training is free. Go and get a skill. Make that decision. Put down the gun, put down the violence, and say, I am going to heart. We've made it so easy. If you're just leaving school, we have a program called the CARE program. If you didn't get enough CXCs, we will support you to go and get training. We'll give you stipend and bus fare and lunch money to get you into these programs. Our path is clear. Our path is clear. Choose the right path. There will be a job for you. You're not going to get the big pay right away, but work with the program. Every year it gets better. Or go the wrong path and deal with a judge or greet your maker. So it's clear. It's clear what we have to do. Now, the strategy of developing economic zones are not new, practiced all over the world, but they are necessary, particularly in environments where we need to bring all the necessary lines of effort to support business. So, an environment like this, you would see that you have transportation coming in to make it more efficient for your staff. You would probably have shared services such as a common cafeteria and other services, maybe a little ATM and banking services, all the logistics necessary to make your operations easier and more efficient and more productive. But I also know that you are considering energy, because that is the next big obstacle for growth, the cost of energy. So we have dealt with the macroeconomic and the fiscal issues, stable economy. So that's one step on the investment ladder. So you don't have to worry about taxes and so forth. We have dealt with the fiscal incentives, another step on the fiscal ladder. The government policy is clear that we are willing to partner with business, we are supportive of business, we will engage in public-private partnerships, and we will make government-owned assets available to the private sector to develop. Another step on the rung of investment. Security, big issue. Government is dealing with that. There is no question that this administration has dealt with it in a decisive way. and the results will continue to be in our favor. Jamaica will be a peaceful country. Another step on the investment ladder. Now, energy. Jamaica continues to be one of the highest energy cost countries in the region. On the demand side, there are some things that we can do. For example, we have reduced the GCT on electricity. So all of you here, if you have the JPS app and your bill cycle is now due, you can go on it and you will see no longer 15% GCT, it's now 7%. A major reduction. And we're spending over $1 billion on trying to encourage prepaid metering so that we reduce the line losses, what they call the non-technical losses, rather. And we are also supporting the wiring of houses. Again, another initiative to reduce the cost of electricity, which is a huge part of the cost of living to households. But we have to reduce the cost of electricity to business if our economy is to grow and we are to realize our dreams of becoming an industrial and manufacturing hub in the region. It is clear to us, renewables are an option. Solar prices, particularly for panels and batteries, are coming down. So there has to be greater investment. But it has to be carefully managed, because what you don't want to happen is for there to be a rapid migration from the national grid into individually supplied energy solutions using renewables. Otherwise, that will just drive up the unit cost for everyone else who remains on the grid. So there has to be a national strategy as to how we reduce energy cost for everyone. That is the next step to be able to get to a really larger flow of investments in Jamaica. And in a few days, I don't want to say everything here, but in a few days, you will see our policy and strategy unfold as to how we intend to make a really profound change in the cost of energy for the average Jamaicans. Now, all of this is moving towards, as we had announced, our pivot to growth, the next chapter. There is one more element, and that is efficiency. I believe I've spoken a lot on efficiency and what we plan to do. We are working towards making it more efficient. This project took some time, right, PB? In terms of the not just the regulatory time, which is Norman's fault. I know I'd get your attention, Norman. But just the process of just divesting the land, it did go through an involved process. So we're going to deal with that. Well, we have started to deal with that. So I hope that I have kind of laid out to you the steps that the government has been taking, which would have led us to investments like these. But many more investments. I mean, you would have driven along the North Coast and you would have seen massive tourism development, just huge tourism developments in housing and construction and you name it. Just yesterday, the Factories Corporation completed phase 1 of their redevelopment of another special economic zone, or a free zone at the time it was called, the Garmex free zone, which was another textile garment factory back in the days in the 80s. And they have transformed that into a modern economic hub where they're having everything from warehousing to a media company to a technology-based company. All kinds of companies are doing business there. We just opened that yesterday, and I'm here today again doing this. So it tells you that there are, there's an energy for investment. But in as much as we see this energy, we have not yet realized 50% of the potential of foreign direct investment and local investment for Jamaica. As I've outlined the steps we need to take, the steps we have taken, and the steps that we are about to take, I am confident that Jamaica will become a fast-growing economy in this new era. I'm confident that Jamaicans will be able to achieve all their dreams and aspirations. They will be able to fulfill themselves right here. I looked on with great despair that a lot of our young people still have their eyes cast overseas. I'm not sure they're really reading carefully what is happening overseas, and that the days of general migration, that those days are fast coming to an end. And the solution to that is not to become depressed and self-defeated. The solution to that is to look inward for the opportunities, because there are opportunities. The opportunities need to be met by creative, entrepreneurial people. And we as the government need to encourage a platform on which creative and entrepreneurial persons can do well. The truth is, we need maybe another 200 Michael Subrates and PB Scott, and Nicholas. And if we have those and they're going out there finding the opportunities in Jamaica, this one initiative would have hired, you said 2,500 or more. You're going to be up to about 5,000 when you're at your full. So you can just imagine that as more entrepreneurs take on more opportunities, how the entire country benefits, which is you benefit through employment and income, better service, less crime, better facilities, and Jamaica grows. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for being the attentive audience, and I hope that I have communicated to you the role of the government in development. This is a purely private sector development. Government has nothing to do with it in terms of any debt or any partnership, except making it possible by providing the land, making it possible by providing the right economic environment, making it possible by providing the training in the society, making it possible by ensuring that there is security, and we're going to now make sure that energy and efficiency are well rooted as a part of the Jamaican landscape. Choose Jamaica.
Yeah, we all know what season we're in, right? Soon come. And I'm sure I speak for everyone as well in saying that we look forward to hearing your plans on energy. We all want lower light bills, don't we? Oh yes, oh yes. We all want a well-trained labor force, and I also support the call for getting back into manufacturing in a major way for Jamaica. Thank you very much, Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Let me introduce our final speaker for today. PB Scott is the CEO, chairman, and principal shareholder of the Musson Group. Over the past 2 decades, he's conceptualized and led their expansion from a Jamaican consumer wholesale distribution business to a diversified group operating in 30 countries. Anybody wants to guess how much Musson Group makes? Like how much money? Any guesses? Very close. So today the Musson Group has a turnover in excess of 1.7 billion with a B US, not Jamaican dollars, annually, and over 8,000 employees. Let's welcome PB Scott to deliver our closing remarks.
Thank you. I didn't know they gave out those figures, but wow. Well, Prime Minister, thank you very much. Minister Auburn Hill. I almost said Minister Hilton because I was used to saying that, but Mr. Hilton, you were there. I remember going to Guatemala with you and looking at free zones in Guatemala in the port. And I think when I look at this development that exists today, a couple of things really sort of resonate with me. One is that don't necessarily always trust your own judgment, because what Michael said was 100% correct. Michael is quite an individual. For those people who know him will probably understand what I'm saying. But I think it's best to describe it almost like having a sibling that can be somewhat annoying a little bit and just keeps repeating the same thing. And many years ago, Moss and bought the land here, behind here, and Epley acquired, which is an associated company, the land over there, and then Mossen owned the land over there, and we owned a plot of land on the hill there with a well. So we had this land, and we were using these warehouses, and Michael would come out here, and he would go, PB, we need to move our entire business to Spanish Town. And I'm like, no, Michael, no, it's not happening. I'm not moving the entire business. It's like, no, you don't understand. We can move everything here and centralize it. I'm like, look, the wharf is where we're at. We've got to be close to the wharf. He's going, no, PB, this is the place. Spanish Town is a place where we need to be. And then one day, we're out here, and he hijacked me with his father, actually. You're part of this story, Mr. Sabrati. And he goes, you need to come next door. And when we went there, he introduced me to, I believe, the Imam, the gentleman who's in charge of the mosque in Spanish Town. And the gentleman who's in charge of the mosque in Spanish Town was running some sort of business, I don't know what it was, in the ruins of this facility. And he was a very nice gentleman, and he was showing us around. And it was very dilapidated. When I say it's dilapidated, I mean, you had to go through the bush, and then there was what I thought was a sort of drug lab. It had like sort of glass tubes and stuff in a corner, and I thought, well, that's a bit dodgy. And there were a lot of gutters, and it looked like there was stuff in the gutters, and I thought, well, it's best not to know what's in those gutters. And he was like super enthusiastic, and Mike's going, look, the roof, it's good. And I'm looking at the roof, and it looks rusty, and there was a fire the week before, right? So everything was burnt out, and there was trees growing through the ground, and it smelled terrible, and there were dogs and dead dogs, and it was pretty bad. And I'm like, no, forget this. So then about a month later, he goes, PB, just come again. And I'm like, no, this is really annoying now. But anyway, I went again. And he goes, look, I think this thing has got a lot of opportunity. And, you know, it's a huge building. And I said, boy, Mike, I don't know. I really don't know. But this time when we went, right, the building over there, where you see it on the video, it had half a roof, but all of the steel had been stolen between the time that we first saw the building and the second. It had all gone. Like, and this was not like small. This was like someone had got a crane in here in the night and undone the steel, you know. And I'm like, well, this is going to be really problematic. I mean, how do you even stop people from stealing the steel and doing this? And he's like, PB, I think this can work. And I'm like, well, all right, Mike, but if it's going to work, then you have to put your money where your mouth is, and we'll do a deal where we'll put in the majority and you put in, and we will create a company and we'll do this thing together. And he's like, all right, great. And then he disappeared. And for 2 years, right, this is maybe 4 years ago, yeah, for about 2 years, no one at T. Geddes Grant could find the managing director of T. Geddes Grant. it was a bit of a disconnect, because when Mike gets something in his head, he's just like super obsessed. And you know, the Prime Minister spoke a little bit about environment, and he's absolutely correct. You know, you need the right fiscal environment, the right environment to be able to look and develop and build something. You need the right tax incentives. You need all those things in order to have the confidence to do something. But I think the most important thing is you need people. People are the most important thing to economic growth, whether it's through education, access to productivity, teamwork, because people get things done. And when I look at this, I really have to say, Mike, thank you to you. You dragged me into this project. I would love to stand here and take complete ownership, you know, and feel sort of, but it's a project, as the Mossen Group, we're extremely proud of, very proud of. And it's a project that has taken something that was clearly broken and of little value or adding no value to anybody or the community. And it's been transformed into creating something that every day is giving 2,500 people today and 5,000 people tomorrow a place to go and work. And that really is fantastic. So, you know, Michael, I think a lot's been said in the videos, etc. And one thing I said to him, because I'm not really a branding guy or a marketing person, I'm more of an Excel spreadsheet person. I said, go figure out what we're going to call it and stuff. And he came back and he goes, we're going to call it Mossen Jamaica Sobriety. And I'm like, all right, sounds okay. And then I was talking to one of my nieces, and she goes, Uncle Bibi, you know, have you been to Michael J. Sobriety Technology Park? And I was like, what? What do you mean, Michael J. Sobriety Technology Park? And Lisa goes, yeah. Dad's middle name's J. And you know, I would say, Mike, we started as Mossen Jamaica Sobriety, but let me tell you something. It is Michael J. Sobriety now. So, congratulations. You deserve it. It's been wonderful to be in this. Mossen has invested we've done close to 1 million square foot of BPO between Stanley Motor, which is 400,000 square feet. There's about 400 or so here. Chalmers off Malines Road, we have 2 buildings with 100,000 square feet each, so that's 1 million square feet. And, you know, roughly, I think there's probably around 12,000 jobs that have come from our investment in BPO. But that has come from a whole environment that has allowed us to invest in BPO. And, you know, the government, the existing government, the previous government, they've been very consistent in developing that skill, that sort of tax structure. JAMPRO have been very supportive. And what we found is it's very difficult to take a foreign investor and show them bush and an imagination. But once it's built, people can believe and they can see it. So I really don't want to take too much time, but I would like to say thank you to everyone that came here today. I do appreciate, it's a hot sun, it's midday. The tenants that are here, thank you very much for the commitment. You know, some of you took a leap of faith, others walked into a finished building, but regardless, we're really proud to be associated with you guys, and we are going to build another 300,000 square feet behind us over there. So we are looking forward to keeping the momentum going. Mayor Scott, you know, thank you. It's not easy overcoming the perception of Spanish Town. And I hope with this investment and development and some of the other developments that have been happening, that perception is being removed slowly, because the reality is Spanish Town should be an engine of growth for Jamaica. And we're really proud to be here, and we look forward to be making more investments, so thank you. Natalie Nita, the MP, she's been very supportive during the period of time. She's not here now, but she spoke earlier. And of course, Auburn Hill, Minister Hill, I think you've been here 10 times. I've held the ladder for you twice if you've gone up and gone through a window. You know, you're always incredibly supportive. And, you know, I think we're very lucky to have very good people on both sides of the political equation, but as we have now, very supportive organization, supportive government, and we're very grateful for that. And to all the people who worked on this project, you know, when Michael referred to teamwork, it really was a team. I'm glad Roger can now go back to his day job and run Harrell. Darren, you really are an excellent architect. I don't know where you are. There you are, Darren. Stand up, please. I'm not going to make a Darren joke, but no, but Darren is a secret weapon in our organization. And any time where we are moving racks in a warehouse, moving an office, or doing anything, Darren gets a call on a Friday night, and he sends the drawings by Sunday, and we're actively changing things Monday morning. You know, so he's really key. And thank you very much for that. And Roger, thank you, and thank you to all the team, and thank you everyone for coming. And thank you very much, and have a great day. Enjoy. We do have some, you know, if you don't have health cover from Canopy, you can get it, or insurance from General Accident, we're right there. So anyway, have a great day. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, PB. So that's what MJS stands for. How many of you were wondering? I was wondering what it stood for. But Michael, you left out some parts of the story though. The dead dog in the gutter. It's a good thing we have visionaries like this, because not all of us would have seen that vision, right? It's a good thing, and here we are today. Well, that just about brings us to the close of our ceremony for today. I understand that many of you have received like a ticket to go on the tours. Who has ticket number 2, 3? There's 1, 2, and 3. Look at your ticket.